All right, we're back on the podcast, and I have one mean and nasty gentleman on the airways with me today. He's a former professional hockey player in the NHL, two-time Stanley Cup champion with the Chicago Blackhawks, and most importantly, a mental health advocate. Dan Carcillo, Carbom, welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely fired up to have you on finally. How's
Yeah,
things
no
in
doubt.
Florida? How's things going on, man?
Good. Yeah, it's steamy, but it's always nice, man.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed. Yeah, today I was on my run and 4.4 miles, did back-to-back days each day. And it was, one of those days where it just sucks, where like every step and you're looking down the road and you're like, oh, I gotta go that far. And and then on the way back, I just kind of had this thought of, imagine if you were living in Canada or if you were living like somewhere gloomy and dark and so on the way back switched kind of the mindset to being grateful and just looking around and I love being here. I love being here. I love how warm it is. I love, the area that we're in and feel really lucky that we were able to find it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are moving there for a lot of reasons of that.
Mhm.
More freedom, huh?
Yeah, more freedom. Feels like its own country in a way. And I got 4 young kids. So I think it's really important to do our best to protect them from certain ideologies and certain ideas at formidable ages. And, they're going to see what they're going to see. But, once that stuff is in the curriculum in school and they're learning it, I think that's where I kind of drew the line with Illinois. And so we just found a house online and
Mhm.
decided to move here right after the pandemic started.
Yeah, seems like a great fit for you. So I'm happy for
Yeah,
you guys.
yeah, man.
Yeah, I want you to take it in any direction you want today, man. I mean, you've been talking about your story on many podcasts and whatnot,
Hmm.
so it's gonna maybe a little bit of a replay. But I know you've played pro hockey, you've had your time of concussions and all that stuff, and you've been like literally helping people heal along with yourself. So I'd love for you to just take on talking about your story, and we'll go with that.
Cool. Yeah. Well, you know, the last, I'd say 3 weeks, I'm about 3 weeks removed from my last, big ceremony, which always comes with revelations and learnings. And I mainly use these medicines now. When I say these medicines throughout this podcast, I mean mushrooms in high doses and mainly in Oregon. And I use them as tools to, advance my learning, understanding of people, marketing, language, because I really want to be thoughtful and try to put this into the best context that I can for a number of different individuals or um people to hear the message, and so it obviously started with concussion, and mushrooms have a pretty amazing ability to heal the brain. I've seen hundreds of concussion survivors go through this protocol that I went through the last 6.5 years, and it's been extremely beneficial for them all. And, when I retired from the NHL in 2015, I was 30 years old. I just had a 10-year career. I won the Stanley Cup twice, and I fought 164 times. And so I had a lot of damage. And this is right around the time that the NFL concussion lawsuit just got settled. Guys were kind of still killing themselves, shooting themselves in the chest intentionally so that they could save their brains to go to research. And I was being told by the best medical professionals on earth that they were, number one, glad that I decided to hang them up, and number two, that I had mild dementia or CTE like symptoms, this neurodegenerative disease that essentially robs you slowly of motor skills and language and creativity. It's very much like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, where you have these tau proteins and deposits in your brain that eventually just start strangling communication between the different brain hemispheres. So it was a pretty gloomy time for about 4 years where I'd spent $500,000 of my own money, and I was going to all the best brain rehabilitation, stroke rehabilitation, CT brain banks, talking to the best neuroscientists on earth, best medical systems, taking, the best synthetics that they had to manage symptoms, which exacerbated other symptoms. And I got to a point in 2019 where I was still dealing with things like slurred speech, headache, head pressure, insomnia, impulse control issues, light sensitivity, um, short-term, long-term memory loss, anxiety, depression, appetite, weight loss, on top of eventually suicidal ideation. And on top of the pharmaceuticals, listening to doctors, stroke rehabilitation centers, which cost a ton of cash. I was doing, things like mox acupuncture, peptides, ketones, stem cells, cranial sacral, hyperbaric chamber, float tanks, like all these alternative tools to try to manage symptomology. And then as I was doing that, I was reading about what the heck happened to me and then how I could possibly fix it. That's when I came across a study in a pretty well-known medical journal by the Imperial College of London of a brain on psilocybin and a placebo brain. And when I saw this study, I heard a voice in the back of my head of these doctors at these concussion or stroke rehabilitation centers saying, we're going to identify an area shut down due to trauma in your brain using all these different diagnostics, QEEG, balance tests, eye tracking, etc. And then we're going to be able to identify that area and then wake it back up with these exercises, balance exercises, memory tasks, etc. And it sounded great, but I was looking at this fMRI, and here it was, of these brain hemispheres communicating at a rate that has never been seen before. And I knew that I can get a hold of this for $30 or $40 in a decriminalized state, then being Colorado. So I got on a plane and I was invited by a former teammate and took a leap of faith and went to try magic mushrooms, the active ingredient being psilocybin, to try to recover my brain health, quality of life, really a last ditch effort because I was pretty suicidal at this point. And I took some diagnostics before I left. And then when 6 months later, just because if it worked, I want to be able to cut through the stigma and show some hard data. And so, one big dose, 3 months apart. So 2 total over 6 months, some low dose regimen, also mixed in with like lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, chaga, agarikon, turkey tail, exercise, watching my alcohol intake, sugar intake, and obviously, pretty decently strict nutrition or diet protocol with a lot of omega-3s, et cetera. 6 months in, clear brain scans, no abnormalities. 6 months in, not dealing with any symptoms anymore, completely gone. Some took a little bit longer to lessen in intensity or all but fade away. But, at the 6-month mark, feeling, looking very, very different than when I started out and completely cured. And so I went back to the doctors, right? I brought the data and I had them look at it, and they were dumbfounded, but also very careful to not confirm how I felt with just QEEG and blood work, right? And so, and that was 2019. That was the summer of 2019. And ever since then, I've just dedicated my life and my life is all geared towards staying as healthy as I can be, because if I can be an example and dance the dance, so to speak, and have people listen and see it, then concussion survivors can get to a cure. This is a cure for sure. And we've cured hundreds of people already. And it's just kind of our coming out party now in being able to do it in Oregon, which is a full spectrum medicine, is pretty amazing. And but that's the goal, right? The goal is to be as healthy as I can be for my 4 kids, for my wife, for my parents, for my 2 brothers, for my friends, be as present as I can be. And then it's pretty cool to be in the business of helping people and supporting your family that way. So it amazes me constantly about what I'm doing, what I've been given, what I've worked for hasn't been freely given. And yeah, pretty grateful for the life I've been able to live so far.
Yeah, man. And the first thing I think about is your kids. You're right. You're a leader. You're a great role model for them. And as they grow up, they're going to see how much of a change you made in people, society, and humanity.
Funny, my yeah, well, thanks for saying that. And then my son is YouTube era, right? And even my daughters now, they're like, they go to school like, yeah, my dad did this. And then I'm sure those kids go home and tell their parents, and then their parents see, and then all of a sudden start having these strange discussions with beating the wheels off of people for money, and for glory, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool to see the perspective shift of in myself too. When I first went to a game, when I first went to a Florida Panthers game, on the other side of it, where my son was, and I did it for him. And I used to have a weird relationship with hockey. Now I've just accepted the sport for what it was. And I'm grateful for going through all these injuries and having to put my head down and really conquer this hopeless diagnosis that these doctors give people. And they still give people this. They give people this diagnosis of possible CTE like symptoms when you can't diagnose it until you're dead, until they take your brain out, which I think is extremely irresponsible. But it was cool to see how happy people were in the stands, and how hockey makes people feel a certain way for an allotted amount of time. And then I just realized, I'm like, wow, I made a lot of people happy. We made a lot of people happy by doing these runs, and people are invested in it now, right? I see my son, as the Panthers are going to go to the Stanley Cup Finals here 2 times, 2 years in a row, and he's like, it makes him so happy. It's pretty cool to like. It's like, I helped do that, for Chicago and for a couple cities, and it makes sense now. What's up, babe? Oh wow, have a kiss. You're the best.
He's got to join. There you go.
Yeah.
What'd she draw you?
From thank you.
Oh, look at that.
Mhm.
We'll cut out a
She's
snippet. There you go.
she's a sweetheart.
She's an artist. She's an artist.
Mhm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Just like her dad.
Hearts on hearts.
There
So
you go.
yeah, so it's been pretty cool to be on the other side of the ropes.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
good.
it's crazy how people get so attached. They're extension to the family. Like when you're playing, right? It's wild.
Yeah, and I never really understood it, because when you're in the game, you're very much like a kid, because you're still playing a game. Yeah, we got paid a lot of money, and it sometimes feels like a job, but you we get paid a lot of money because not a lot of normal human being. You got to be a little mad to play professional sports, because of just how painful it is, and what it takes to keep your body and mind at that level for so long. And it's a it was a it was cool to now be in the real world, I call it, and realize how different it is, how slow it is, how unexciting it is. And then then it makes sense, right? Why we need these outlets, why we need sports. And then all of a sudden you have a completely different relationship. And and perspective on
Right.
what you did, which is really cool.
Yeah, man. And the other thing I thought about too is like, I mean, I know you've been through other stuff outside of your the brain trauma and all that from the concussions, but like that was a place you could let out aggression and let out things that you've gone through too.
Yeah, it was a
Right?
nice outlet, man. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's a great anger management tool, and like
Yeah.
that's how I used it when I was a kid because I would I was very uncomfortable just or I don't know if the word uncomfortable is accurate. It just when I went to the rink and I got to play this game with different rules, I was immediately just enamored by it because
Mhm.
the rules and all the rules of life. I grew up with very strict Italian, hard-headed parents. So many rules, and I was like, this can't be it. And then all of a sudden, you find this game where you can be creative within the game, and you can also, you can also, test somebody's will to play, which is
Right.
really great, even
Yeah.
from a young age, right? When you look at a kid and then they immediately look away, or when you troll the red line in the NHL and
Right.
guys aren't necessarily doing it that close, or you just start to test out how mentally fit and strong
People
you
are.
are. And it's a it's a cool way to test your might, you know. Um
I wanted to dive back into the mushrooms and stuff.
mhm,
I know a lot of people who are not familiar with it think of it as like a party favorite, party drugs, whatever, this and that. It really hasn't become that over time now, I feel, with
mm,
everything. So I'd love for you to dive deeper in that. And like you said, I think you did speak a little bit about the benefits, but I think we should
mhm.
dive deeper into that maybe. And
Sure.
the retreats you do too. So
Sure. Yeah, so okay, so when I first went to well, I'll just give an overview. So psilocybin is the active ingredient in magic mushrooms. It's one of over 100 tryptamines and alkaloids that are present in about 100 or so of these species. There's some mushrooms that feed you, which are edible. There's some that can kill you, which are poisonous, and then there's some that can heal you and take you on a trip. And psilocybin cubensis, specifically these strains of mushrooms, seem to be able to heal us and take us on a spiritual journey in order to get to the root cause of our issues. And if you're a self actualizing person, meaning you're a person that wants to be told and see what is wrong to then fix it and move on with your life, mushrooms can work for you. Psilocybin mushrooms and these ceremonies can work for you. And they're found in nature. They've been around before humans. 27 primates that we know of take them. And they fit into a 5-HT2A receptor, which is our serotonin receptor. And it is like a lock and key. And so they were put here for a reason. And they harmonize with our this system. They help to decompress the nervous system. They help people that are stuck in fight or flight mode calm down. And they do a really amazing job of reconnecting people back to what's important in life. So they help to take away depression and anxiety and PTSD. Now, they can be used recreationally. But the way that we're going to talk about this are high dose mushrooms used therapeutically. So, yes, of course, you can take, a half a gram or even less than that and go to a concert and have really cool visuals and feel really euphoric and not necessarily have a bad experience or a bad trip. Bad trips happen when you take too much of a dose and you go into the wrong environment and you are too stimulated. So if you manage your dose and you manage the set and setting, meaning this set intention of why you are coming to this or why you feel called to do these mushrooms, and then the setting, meaning the environment for which you do it in, if those things are managed plus dose, plus you have a sitter, you have a person who is very experienced in holding space for somebody to be able to surrender to what you're going to see, meaning there are sometimes what's called these feelings of dying or letting go of something that may be holding you back, or these ego deaths. The ego is can be described as, you know, this default mode network that we hold all of our sense of self, our feelings, our characteristics, our learned traumas. That gets decompressed in these ceremonies, and sometimes it can feel as though you're letting pieces of that go, hence the dying effect.
Right.
And this is sometimes where this therapeutic effect lies. But if you don't have somebody who isn't on the medicine grounding you to help you go deep and surrender to those things, it can be very scary to let go. And so that's really important. All of those things are important. And the reason that this works 4 times better than any tool that we have on the market right now, works 4 times better than any SSRIs or antidepressants. In a Johns Hopkins study for major depressive disorder, 2 doses of 2.5 grams or 25 milligrams. People no longer qualified for a depression diagnosis or score based off of how they rate it for over a year. So these can be very profound learnings, and they can be enduring, and they can last for a very long time. So we are talking about curative measures. And in Oregon, which is amazing, we have something called Measure 109. And well, something was passed called Measure 109, and that measure created an adult therapeutic use state, the first of its kinds for adults over 21 to go there and partake in a responsibly regulated and managed psilocybin framework, meaning service centers. You can go to a service center that has a license, and you can be sure that the environment that you're going to do this medicine work in is safe. It's got great music. It's comfortable, and people. This incubator is going to make you feel good. This doesn't look like your regular white dentist office. There's usually plants and nice ambiance, and there's smells of possibly sage or you know nature and things of this sort. So you have your regulated service center, you have regulated facilitators. You have people that go through 140 hours of training who are usually in the underground, and they're coming above ground now. And these individuals are journeyed. They have been around sitting with people on these medicines, and they know how to make someone feel extremely safe and help guide them through one of these ceremonies with both music and their energy. And then you have regulated manufacturers. So you have these full spectrum mushrooms, which is amazing. These are not synthetic. This is not a synthetic derivative. And they manufacture to a very specific specification. So you know that these mushrooms are grown, tested, and you know the exact psilocybin content that is in it, as well as norbeo and baeocystin, these other 2 tryptamines and alkaloids that have great anxiolytic effects. So if you know somebody's, we don't call people patients, we call them clients. But if you know that somebody could be a little bit more anxious and has a tough time surrendering, you could pick a strain that has more norbeo or baeocystin, so it has a better anxiolytic effect and it's not as hard on the individual. You will never get that with synthetic psilocybin that Compass Pathway or one of these companies is developing, which is really cool. So different strains do different things. And you can trust that it's manufactured well, and then it's tested at a licensed testing facility. Licensed service centers, licensed facilitators, licensed manufacturer, licensed testing facilities. That's Oregon. And the result is there's over 1,900 people now that have been treated, that have gone through this in a little over a year and a half. that's the largest clinical trial ever done on Earth. And there haven't been, I mean, I'm sure there's been some adverse effects, but you haven't heard of many, reports of adverse events, which is great. And I curate these retreats in lieu of opening our own facility, which we just got under contract. We filed the license actually yesterday, which is really exciting because this is kind of the culmination of a lot of years of advocacy and education, et cetera. And but in the meantime of that, there's a lot of people that reach out that really need help now. So I just curate these retreats where everything's kind of taken care of. Airbnb, we do 5 to 7 hours of preparatory work. So it's really important to prepare somebody for the facilitator and myself to kind of understand what may come up, what we're kind of working on that goes into, the set intentions of these individuals. And then we have weekly Zooms to have them answer. I can answer any questions that they may have. They talk to the facilitator for 2 hours and prepare on a one-on-one. And then it's really cool to do it in a group aspect because the group uplifts each other, both in the ceremony before and then after. We have these alumni calls where we have access to each other for the rest of our lives, because these types of bonds that you make with yourself and others during these ceremonies it's something that you want to continue to curate. So and it's a 3-day experience, and we've had some pretty amazing results so far. We've got some YouTube links that I send out, and we do free webinars. I do free webinars every week. Some weeks I'm missing them because I'm obviously in Oregon, but for the most part. And man, it's just I'm so grateful that people are like hearing and seeing the message, and then that they're committing to improving their lives by committing to coming to something like a mushroom retreat. And yeah, it's made me a better father, husband, businessman. It's really cool to to be here doing this.
Yeah, man, fascinating. Right up your alley too. With what I mean, it's your thing now. I mean, I want to just touch on what you were saying before. I like a spiritual approach. I'm spiritual, and letting go of the ego and those layers, the death and rebirth. I'm very familiar with. It's incredible, and I think that's why people they hold on to what's familiar, right? Which holds
Mhm.
it back. It's those blockages.
Absolutely. We all, it's a fine dance between how you communicate, right? And what people want to hear. You know what I mean? And so we all go through life attached to certain ideologies or certain perspectives based off of our traumas, our successes, our failures, based off of our learned behavior, our teachers who we were around, our friends, addictions, or, everything that makes Corey or Daniel, which there's a lot of layers, man. And so you can either go through this life unconscious to how you are living and acting and affecting all these other people around you, or you can go through life wanting to be conscious of your words, actions, and positively trying to impact other people while first worrying about yourself, because you can't really help anybody until you're extremely selfish and understanding and getting right. And if you've done bad things, that's okay. Like, go back and clean up your side of the street and try not to do it again. And nobody's perfect. So, and these medicine, I'm a mushroom guy, so mushrooms specifically just help you make better decisions. There's no neuroscientist on earth that's going to be able to tell you why that is, but it wipes the slate clean, and it allows you, if you have these destructive thought patterns, or if you're just stuck like I was a little bit, like I was stuck 3 weeks ago. I knew what I needed to do. I know what my life's work is. I know what makes me happy when I get on podcasts or I get on these one-on-ones and I'm talking to individuals about this is how it worked for me, and I can see them light up and you can already see the benefit. Yet I was so stuck a little bit in fear of nitpicking the facilities. And I'm like, man, I've seen 19 of these places. Like, come on, you got to make a decision. So I went into this ceremony with two other athletes so as a excuse me, a follow-up documentary to the HBO special we did, and they needed help with concussion. I wasn't there to recover from anything. I was there to get unstuck and to give myself more of this self-confidence that I already know is in there, and to ignite and use this mushroom as a catalyst to be able to commit to a property, to be able to commit to this decision, and to be able to commit to a new way of life. Like, I really haven't had any desire to drink or to smoke cigarettes or to do any of the destructive stuff that I was still dabbling in. And I wouldn't call them like addictions. These are just things that make me disconnect. And I want to be fully here, like, all the time. And that's hard. But anyway, so you can go to these ceremonies. What I'm trying to explain is you can be sick. That's fine, right? You can identify as depressed or having anxiety. You can also go in just feeling a little stuck and, wanting to get rid of well, I know that I need to do this. And then the second thought is always, but if you do that, this will happen. And it's usually a fearful thought. And then that might happen. And then it shuts that lizard brain off, and you're moving in right from your intuition and from that gut feeling. And that's a beautiful place to be, because you're totally connected to what I now understand to be this silent observer, the universal force or love or God or whatever you want to call it. And I I'm still trying to not be too, I don't want to offend anybody, but like, I have a hard time with the like the woo-woo kind of aspect of it, where it's like everything's love. And this last ceremony, man, the best way I could describe it is like I dissolved into pure light and consciousness, and then I was connected to everything, and I could feel, and I know that the universe is here to support me. And it gave me this image of, if I just take the leap of leaping off this platform with everybody holding me up, and I did, and then you come back to this body, and for however the feelings that you get when you're having those hallucinations, you just immediately know, you're like, okay, like, if I do this, I'm going to be supported by that silent observer. And that silent observer is, well, I need this, and I want to try to think about it because I'm having issues with like a payment processor. And then all of a sudden I get an email from somebody in Oregon who's like, oh, by the way, we've figured that out. And it just popped into my inbox. I didn't ask for it. Those are the types of coincidences that start to happen when you're tapped in, and you're living your life through strengthening that internal relationship with that force. Anyway, I hope that makes sense, but it's it's pretty amazing what I've seen happen in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's I could call them miracles, and I'm still blown away. I'm still trying to make sense of it.
I enjoy listening to it, man, because I can envision it. And I think with the woo-woo stuff, I think it's just people that haven't gone there yet. Everyone's able to tap in. The answer's already within, and it's kind of that trampoline to get there, that jump to see these things, right? It's like meditation and breath work can take you there too, but I could totally see it with this medicine to get there, to get the answers, to take the leap. Right, man?
Oh, buddy, like 100%. But I'm very careful with language, because if my buddy showed up and was like, this is what happened to me, and he used this type of I don't think I would have done it. I'm like, oh no, like, that's not, I can't hear that message, right? Even now, even though I know it to be true, I know that everything's connected. I know it. I've felt it before. I know that when I'm positively reinforcing myself and not negatively talking down to myself, I'm better. I know that. I know that when I am wishing people good, even people that I don't want to ever talk to again, but I'm still trying to shower them with my days are just so much better, you know,
Yeah.
and but I don't know why, but I can't quite get there with the language. And so this is how I know that more work needs to be done, right? Like I've felt it, I know it. I guess I try to communicate it in a different way. Um there's a part of me that um there's a part of me that thinks if I talk that way, it might turn more people off than turn on. I think that's the main
Yeah.
in my community. You know what I mean?
No, I understand you. I can read you
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
It's like this, like the like. Well, I'm here to reassure you and validate you that I know this. I've been through
Yeah.
it too, man. So
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
your team.
Yeah.
But there could be that little twinkle of fear, like, am I going to get rejected? Is this like something that they don't understand? They don't know this language, and you know, am I not going to be validated or reassured? In a sense, right? Am I right on that a little
Yeah,
bit?
no, you're right. You're right on that. And I'm not worried about it. I mean, I'm not worried about that because I'm not worried about the validation because like when people so for example, when these four people go through this ceremony, they're gonna come out and they the thing
Like,
is
holy
that
fuck!
yeah, they're like,
This is what you
oh,
were talking about,
everything's
man.
connected and
They're
everything
gonna go
is
fucking tell
made
the
out of
next person.
love and all and it's like everybody says the same thing, you know, but like
Just wait and see.
oh
Fucking,
yeah, it's like, but I can't describe it that way because my hockey guys, these guys, these Wall Street bros, these guys that all think that they have it under control,
Yeah.
that they're the master of the universe, that they're doing everything, that nothing is out of control, nothing's in flux, right? I think it, I do it. I'm the master of my. It's like, no, like absolutely not. You
Yeah.
know, like
Well,
you know how hard it is.
yeah.
Like you know
It's
how
the
hard it
well, it's
is
the
to like
ego. It's the ego screaming.
yeah. Well, and this is the way I correlate it. You know how hard it is to score a fucking goal in the NHL? It is so hard. It is so hard. There are so many things that need to go exactly perfectly right that are so out of your control. It is wild to even think about. The way the puck might just bounce on edge to the left instead of to the right. The way that nine other people, you are not in control of them. We're playing in a certain system, but you don't know if he's going to just, you know, miss a stride with his maybe toe pick just a little bit. The puck's going to bounce off of the stanchion. Like all of these things in order to create this one goal. There's so much that is so out of your control. So
Mhm.
like I just look back on my life now and I see that. And then now I see how everything's connected. And I also know and I know exactly how to influence it now, which is so cool. I know how to keep these contracts with myself to influence this person or my consciousness of who I am behind my eyes. And if I do the right things that keep me more connected, which they're always pretty hard to do, like not make the decision to have the sour Skittles, not make the decision to have the processed food, not make the decision to go to bed at midnight, go to bed at 11 and not stay up and watch the hockey. Like these decisions that, but they toot, 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 then they like level you up. And then you get up the next day and you feel good, you're more connected, you're not disconnected, you're not hungover. And then all of a sudden, you're present for all these things that you need to do. Like, and that's what's wild to me. And I'm just putting this stuff together in the last 3 weeks. You could probably hear the excitement, but it's like, oof, all right. Because then you go back throughout your whole life and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's right. I went through trauma at like 17, and then that turned me into car bomb. And then that turned me into a guy who really loved hitting people, like hurting people for a very long time, you know, for 164 fights. And then I got introduced to synthetic heroin by being overprescribed by doctors. and I had to ask for help and go to an addiction place in Malibu right after I signed one of the biggest contracts of my career. And then I got introduced to meditation, visualization, and Indian sweat lodges, and all these things, and trauma and talk therapy. And then in my last 5 years, from 25 to 30 in the NHL, I went to the Stanley Cup Finals 4 times with 3 different teams. I won twice and I lost twice. And my life was, you can just see like all of these, the trajectory of the peaks and the valleys, and you can correlate everything as being completely necessary. And what's crazy to me in my life is that there's so many times that I've almost died, or at least I felt like I was really close to death, or to just fuck
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
tapping out because it's so hard.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, fuck, man, if I would have missed all this, like with my kids, and having kids is so fucking amazing.
Yeah.
So fucking
Changes
awesome.
everything.
Oh,
Dude.
do you have any kids?
Not yet.
Oh man,
At
it's
some
so
point when the right lady comes around. So.
there you go. Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude. It must be like because you're kind of like you're healing that inner child. You're giving back to what you may have always
Well,
needed.
they're like sponges, right? So what
They
they do,
are. They're
they
smart.
highlight,
Very smart, dude.
they see everything, hear
Yeah.
everything. They highlight everything that is good about you, but they also they pick up all the bad. So, and then the bad stuff is what triggers you, because what triggers us is what we see most in ourselves, even with our friends.
Right.
And so it's crazy. It's like this little mirror. But then you can influence it. You can show these little individuals how to change, how to, well, I've gone down this path, little one, right? Like, why don't we try it this way?
Yeah.
And you can maybe gently nudge, but it's still their journey. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then it's amazing to see a 9-year-old, 7 and 5-year-old with a 1-year-old. Like, that's just like, that's fucking phenomenal. It's so cool. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really cool.
With your approach right now in your lane, what you've been describing, it kind of like opens them up to a beautiful world, and to not be hard on them, knowing that, it's like no pressure on the kids.
No pressure, but guardrails, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Because you know how life is, right? It's hard. Life is hard. So there's chores. There's things that, like, I need to train them to know that it's not easy out there, right? Because I would be doing them a disservice. Now, we don't physically touch them, like, there's parameters, right? And if I look at their lives, I mean, they got it pretty easy, you know. But I would be doing them a disservice if I made it easier, So and what they presume to be hard, is not even close to being hard. So that's why I really like how my son took it upon himself to force me to register him in hockey. And the reason I love hockey is because hockey's hard. It's just hard. It's fun. It's really, really fun, but it's hard.
It's tough.
And yeah, but it'll teach him about life. It'll teach him about work ethic. Like, effort equals life. Effort equals winning.
Right.
And the more effort you put in, the more you win. And it's the same with life. There's no difference.
Yeah, and you were talking about the consistency you have with yourself every day, and noticing that you're getting rewarded in the unknown, aren't you, man?
I am, and I
You
saw effort equals life. Like, that's not my quote. I don't know who said it, but I saw it on Instagram, and it's so true. Like, the more I don't quit, the more that I push myself, and not every day is hard, right? Like, just today was like, oh, all right, I got to do this again, but tomorrow it'll probably be different, but definitely consistency, discipline, you know, Mike Tyson said, the discipline is doing the things that you hate, like you love it, tricking yourself, and yeah, it's necessary. It's necessary to trick yourself sometimes. You know what I mean? Or some days to do the exact opposite of what your brain's telling you.
Right. No, it's not easy to be in
Mm.
control of it at times, is it?
No, and I mean, you can just watch it. I don't want to control it. It's
Just
just
watch it.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
let me sit over here and let's see what kind of crazy thoughts we have today.
Let that fucking leaf go down the creek, man. Watch that leaf
Yeah.
fucking fall off that cliff.
Oh, sometimes I'm like, where the fuck did that leaf come from? You know, it's like,
Yeah, out of left field.
oh yeah, and
Fucking
then you
weird thought,
start,
but I can say it out loud and say that's not me.
yeah,
You can go now.
exactly. Well, and then that's, I really like that analogy too of, you know, like our healthcare system, right? People are jumping in at the top of the river, and we're just going to pull them out at the bottom, pull them out. And they walk back up and they get back in their life. And then they eventually jump in again and we pull them out, and it's this vicious cycle. And I, and psychedelics, like, well, hold on a second. Let's go to the top of the river and ask these people, why the fuck are you jumping in? Like, do you need help? You know, as opposed to just the band-aid and this, let's get to the root cause. And it's going to be difficult, but you know, you're not going to have to get back in this cold river anymore, you
Right.
know, and you'll have, you know, a fresh outlook on life.
Yeah.
And then you can go show other people how to do it, you
Right.
know, so they don't get caught in this system that we've created for ourselves, where so many people benefit from people being sick.
Yeah, it's like the cycle and hamster wheel of shame and guilt with all this shit.
Yeah, shame and guilt's a fucking,
That's
that's
one. That's one to let go. That's one to let.
yeah,
Showing
let
compassion and
go.
love of all the
Yeah.
parts of you, man. Right? Of us.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I mean, you know, the good thing about that for me is shame and guilt help me stay on the path, because I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to, you know, be less than or come up short, and then feel the guilt of, you should have worked harder, you know? Um, so that's a nice little, those are two nice things that kind of nip at the Achilles heel to keep you on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, and it's okay if we have a couple failures. You know.
Nobody's perfect, man. I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm gonna I'll probably ride my bike tomorrow instead of run.
There you go. You
Yeah.
gotta ace it. I gotta say something real quick, man. I know Steve Monador
Uh-huh.
was a buddy of yours. I didn't know him, but you know, I think he'd be really proud of you today, man.
Hmm.
And Derek Bugard and all these other guys that are watching over. You know,
Hmm.
you've
Yeah.
done a tremendous job just with what you're doing. It's fascinating to me.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks for saying that.
Yeah, dude.
It's funny you mentioned that. First time I've cried in a long time. Not a long time, but like had a good cry about, because I was describing my ayahuasca journey, recounting it from 2020, and they came to me. They were in it, and it was all about death and trying to figure out, get a little bit more comfortable with the death, the births. There were so many, and they both came to me and said that, like, hey, man, I know it's just the beginning, but yeah, we're really, really proud of you, Steve. Before he died, man, he was all over this. He was going to Peru, doing ayahuasca, like he was scratching it. He was right there. And but you know, some people just pack 80 years into 34 and just too burn a little too bright, you know.
Right. That's wild.
Hmm.
I remember you did post a video of Mark Messier talking about his experience too on the
Recently.
yeah,
Yeah.
man. How wild is that? I
Yeah.
was impressed.
Barbados, he said, in the
Yeah.
80s. Like, dude was born in 85. But yeah, he was, you know, it's, and again, that's like more of a, I think, like a recreational thing rather than like an intentional, but um it's always nice to just take a little peek behind the veil and feel good, right? You wouldn't believe how many times people are just so scared, and then they see my videos and they're like, well, I can't do that right now. But then they go off on a vacation, someone's got a chocolate bar, they take a little piece because they know they're not going to go on a hallucinogenic trip. And then they like, whoa, made me feel that good. Where I wasn't hungover, I didn't even want the booze anymore. All of a sudden, I just stopped drinking, and I was like, not because I had a problem or anything, but it helps guard. What if you take 24 of those? How do you feel, right? And then they start itching, and
Right.
so low dose is a nice little entry barrier for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree for sure, man. Um, I saw a segment. I want to bring this up real quick. Maybe you have a good story for the listeners. We have some
Mm.
hockey fans on here. You talked about playing guilty, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
I wonder if Carbomb has a good story with a former teammate, a former team. We know you've bitten chunks out of the Big Apple, but you got any
so
good
yeah,
ones? You got a good one for me?
yeah, for sure,
All right, man.
for sure. We're only as good as our last story. I I
And you could describe playing guilty to some people that don't know what it
Okay.
is.
So playing guilty means that you're playing a little hungover, or maybe not hungover, but yeah, you're playing hungover. So playing guilty, playing hungover, or you've had a few too many, right? You have, one glass of cab, or you have, two or three when you should have had one. So it just means that you're, dragging a little bit. But hockey players, not many people know we do a morning skate, and then we go take a nap like little babies from 12 to 3, and then we get to the rink 4 or 5 hours before, and we do our thing. So there's numerous touch points and times to sweat, and especially when we're at home, there's saunas, steam rooms. But this particular time we were in New York, and it was my first time playing at MSG, and I grew up a huge Led Zeppelin fan, which you can see behind me. And the thought of playing in the same rink and showering in those same old showers, and like just being around this ambiance that was MSG in the Big Apple was just too damn exciting, and I couldn't do it sober. So I ended up going out with a guy named Mike Comrie until 3, 4 a.m. We ended up at a place, Cipriani's, I think it was called, where there's like bottle service all over the place, and they actually bring you the microphones, and then they drop down a screen, and it's karaoke, and they bring you a big pamphlet, and I'm like, dude, I love karaoke. Love karaoke. And I was like, dude, I'm home. This is amazing. I look down at my watch though, and it's like creeping up past 2, 3, 4 a.m. and like the party's just getting started. Like New York just starts waking up.
Yeah.
So I remember stumbling into the Westin like probably around like 5:30, and I got like an hour, maybe hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you're supposed to be on the bus by like 7:38. But there's always breakfast in the team room. I missed that, so then I ran to through Times Square to try to get McDonald's, and I got McDonald's. And my coach at the time, I was on the Arizona Coyotes, was Wayne Gretzky, Grant Fuhrer, and Ulf Samuelsson. And so I walked onto the team bus thinking that, nobody's going to care that I got hotcakes and a couple hash browns and an OJ because I missed breakfast and it smelled like a brewery. Uh, but they all saw, and I just didn't think anything of it because at that time I was so young, and I was in a different mode. I did not care one iota what people thought about me. I was on a war path, to make a name for myself. And I just didn't think about those finer details. And anyway, got got down, sat down on the bus, and Shane Doan and Ronick are all like kind of looking at me at Jovanovski, like, what the hell is going on with this kid? Ate my stuff. Uh Played that night. I think I got a goal and an assist in a fight. Like played great.
Okay.
I was
Wow.
21. I was 21 at the time. So you can do anything when you're that age, right?
Right.
And yeah, it was, you know, like I don't recommend doing that, but yeah, that was one of my stories where I took a couple nibbles for sure.
Sure, and you come out playing harder though.
Oh yeah, always.
Gordie Howe hat trick,
So
man.
and then the guilt, right, allows you, the shame, the guilt, to use it as fuel, as we mentioned before, right? I used that. You cannot, there's no margin for error, because if you have a bad game and you look and you play hungover, you are done.
You're fucked.
But if you can respond like I always used to and play better, because you know that if you fail, you could be out of the league. I've always liked that type of pressure. Like as a kid, if the rink was full, I played better. Other kids would cower. I just liked it when there were more eyeballs, when I was seen, when I could be heard. And but yeah, no, I crushed it, man. Crushed it for sure.
So Gretz is he's staying quiet until he sees you play to see if
Yeah,
you
no,
can
none
come
of
out.
them.
They don't give a
Uh-huh.
fuck until you're on the ice.
What are they gonna say?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no. What are they gonna
right.
what's he gonna say? Uh no, dude, that's old school. So like
That's
there were other
awesome, man.
times when Gretzky was, when I was at our home rink and I would have the agility ladder out there. And this is 2006, 2007. So almost pre-Twitter. And and I was doing the ladder and he would stand out there and sip his coffee and just shake his head. And and I'd be like, "What, Wayne?" Like, and Grant would come, he'd get Grant out, look at this guy, and I'd be like, "What? This is how we work out. Like, this is how I get ready for a game." He's like, he goes, "Whatever happened to sipping a cup of coffee, eating a hot dog, and telling a few jokes as warm up? Hey, Fierzy," and it's like, oh my god, dude. I'm like, we all aren't, as good as you, but
Yeah, come
some
on,
of us
bro.
have to really work at it to stay here. So times change, and to the point where like I would laugh, because towards the end of my career, there were guys that I played with for a long time in the league. And then all of a sudden these guys were gluten intolerant and all this stuff. And I was just like still pounding the same meal and doing pretty much the same stuff, drinking a little less, definitely playing, not playing guilty.
Right.
Uh, you know, the thing.
You
You
still
still
there?
there,
Yeah, I got
Bruce?
you. Yeah, you froze. There you go. Yep.
Okay, good.
Good, man. Forgot what you said.
Oh, no, just the things that you do when you're young, you know what I mean? Like just
Right.
it's
It's part of the
funny to look
game.
back on it. Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
Got to make it fun.
Yeah,
You
buddy.
know? I was gonna say, because we're kind of all over the map. There's just two more things I want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
You think the NHL has had a good pace in getting to where they need to be? I know that you've had your opinion on it, and it's maybe different, and that's okay. But like, do you think they'll get there to where you want it to be, or you think it should be, with everything that that's healing to the brain and body?
Yeah, so I don't need it to get anywhere,
Right. Yeah.
I'm just kind of living my life. I'm creating programming that men that play professional sports who are going to get sick, because it's hard to do that sport regardless of how much information you front load. They don't necessarily do anything to protect the brain, and guys always come out hurt. And 90% of guys don't get to choose when they retire. They're usually forced out by a number of different factors. And so Oregon's here, man. I'm going to have a facility in Oregon. My
Right.
5 to 10 year goal is to have 50 of these across the nation. There's 27 other states that have some sort of legislation for natural medicine use, and people will be able to access it, responsibly. And that's it. That's, I can't put my effort into trying to influence what a professional sports league is going to do or not do.
Yeah, it's out of your control, but what you're doing is the right thing to do, man. That's all that matters.
Yeah, guard the energy, right? Like,
That's it.
put it where you, number one, have some sort of control or parameter, and then number two, as long as you're, that's what my first ceremony told me, right, is to like stop negatively, stop highlighting how negative they are. Take some ownership with you were getting punched in the head and you were punching people in the head. You couldn't really think that that was decent for you. And then number two, go start creating things, because this league will always, this job will always make people sick, and you need to try to catch them when, when they get out.
Agreed. That's a great outlook. That's the most healthy outlook you can have.
Mm-hmm.
Coming down the end of the wire, one more question: Edmonton or Florida? Who you
I think
taking?
Florida, man.
Yeah.
But you never know. McDavid, Draisaitl, the superstars. You never know.
If they all get really hot, you never know. But
Yeah,
if there's
I
any
think
team,
Florida.
yeah,
Just
for sure.
experience,
And they,
right? So like they've been in that dance, that you gain a lot from it. And like you could see the difference between the Rangers and Florida. Like now the Rangers have some more experience. They need to add a couple more pieces, and then I think they'll get over the hump. But Florida's just seasoned. They've been there. You could tell,
and
So I really think Florida does it. I really think Florida does it.
right, and they're fucking tough.
Yeah, no doubt.
If there's any team that I'd see you playing on this year, it would be with them. They're
Yeah,
fucking mean and nasty, dude.
the Rats.
The
For
Rats,
sure.
baby. Throw them.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, this has been a fun episode. I want to end the episode by saying you inspire me. I think what you're doing for other people is just magnificent. I love your holistic approach, your spiritual approach, and everything that you're doing to help people heal and with it yourself is just like I look up to, man. Because I'm doing that for myself, and I just enjoyed the vibe, enjoy the conversation, and
Same.
yeah,
Same. We got
just
to get you
appreciate
up
you.
to. Yeah, well, I appreciate you too. Sorry that it took us so long to sit down. That's on me.
No
And
worries.
we got to get you up to Oregon and get you to sit, and we'll go up to Mount Hood and get into some nature. And I'd love to meet you in person, man.
Absolutely, man. That'd be fun. To shout out your retreat, I think other people should definitely be able to join. How can they get there? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so go to my Instagram page, Daniel Carcillo 13, and join the broadcast channel. We have, the free weekly webinars, or just email me. My email's all over that page. And I'll add you to the webinar list, email list, and just keep you posted on future dates and information about the industry and how it can benefit your life.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate you, man, and it's been a fun one, and we'll stay connected. We'll have some fun, man.
Awesome.
All right,
Cool.
onward.
All right, Corey.
All right,
See you,
Carbo.
buddy.